Hmm. Howdy, everybody. Shasta College, Humanities 4. It is the middle of the week, December. Here we are, counting to the end of days. Um, Hopefully, you guys saw my announcement about the final paper. It's assigned right now. You have about 10 days to do it. And I gave you topics. The films of John Ford, genres. You can write about westerns, musicals, sci-fi, horror. Um, Pick a genre, write about it. Also, if you want, you can write about one single film within those genres. But once again, this is not a review or an essay, critical essay about the film. You're just talking about the film from research that you've done. Um, I gave you about 5 different topics there: animation, musicals, um, and I gave some specific directors. Please have at it. Ingmar Bergman, Sam Peckinpah. I'm not sure who else I gave. But anyway, the papers are there for you to do research on. And so it's a 3 to 5 page paper. Please make it at least 3 pages, MLA format. Also, that means you're going to need a works cited page. Have a couple citations. It's going to help. You cannot just pull this information out of thin air. You've got to tell me where you're getting it. That's important. You'll be marked off if you don't have a works cited page. And it is called works cited. That's MLA. In humanities, we deal with MLA style. And that you should know that by now. And if I don't see a works cited page, you will lose some points. So make sure you number the pages with a header on each page with the like I say final research paper in the header also. Um, you don't need a title page unless you want, that's fine. Or but make sure you put your name, the title of the paper, the date, and the class, and that's all you have to do. You have to have that information on there. Okay. And that's due, I think, about 5 days before school is over. I think the 12th, I believe. I have to go look at that again, but you have plenty of time to do it. Um, Do it your best. You know what I'm looking for? Top-notch writing, insightful writing, not just copy and paste job from some Wikipedia site. I can spot those. And you're not learning anything by just doing that. So do some research. Look at the previews of their movies or watch a film or two. You could do that. You'll have even more insight to these people or the genre if you want to do. And don't just say, "Oh, I love this genre because it's my favorite." Doesn't matter if it's your favorite. I want to know about the genre or the movie or the director. I want to know about that information about those things, not about your preference, whether you like that genre or not. I assume, hopefully, you'll do something you like, um, or not. I should assign you stuff you don't like. That will make it more challenging, but I won't torture you anymore with that. There's no more essays. This is the last one. Then you have your final journal, but you can't upload that until the very last week of school. So that's not open yet to you. Hopefully, you'll be keeping the diary of the class going. Um, I see some of you have done the extra credit. If you did the extra credit, you will be given the full points, unless it's underpaid, unless it's really bad. But I assume it won't be. Um, and I still gotta grade the last essay, which you had to do. Still working on that. Anyway, it'll all be done. Everything will be right in the world, and the class will be over in a little over 2.5 weeks. So we're winding down to the holidays. Hope your Thanksgiving was thankful. I know we've already talked to you about that, so I don't need to cover that ground again. Today, I want to cover what we're going to do. I'll give a brief because I don't know if you guys watch these things. I should make you watch them. I should give you answers to everything to see if you do watch them, but it's up to you. It's college. You put whatever you put into it, that's what you get out of it. Um, I wanted to cover two things today: Black directors working, making a living in Hollywood, which is not easy. It's not easy to do it as a director anyway, let alone someone who's not the right skin tone. But there's been an influx of successful black directors recently. One of the biggest ones would be Jordan Peele and his two, three films he's done, the horror genre. He was started as a comedian on Mad TV. He's funnier than heck. He's brilliant. Him and Key and Peele, their series that was on, I don't know what it was on, FX or Comedy Central, was brilliant sketch comedy. Brilliant. Well, he's gone on to being very successful in the horror genre, which was interesting. Um, his first movie that became hugely successful is called Get Out. Have you seen it? Really clever, smart, and funny and scary, which is a good combination. His next one came out this year, and it got equally um, sort of a good balance of horror and comedy in the black culture, um, called Nope. And he's now one of the most successful directors, white or black, in the system because it's money. Money, if you make money, you're gold. A lot of these black directors didn't make a lot of money, but they were revolutionaries. They formed the groundwork of black directors working now in Hollywood. Um, a couple of them would be for sure Gordon Parks. He was in that documentary I had you guys watch. Hope you watched it on black exploitation films. He was a still photographer, very famous, worked for the big magazines, and he got to direct a couple seminal black films in the 70s at the height of the new cinema. Um, Shaft was a huge hit. It was supposedly, I've talked about Shaft before. It's in that documentary. Hopefully, you saw it. Tarantino talks about Shaft. But it was a groundbreaking film because it was supposed to be all for white people. But at the time, they saw Hollywood, that's how they work it. They saw some money to be made with the inner city audiences. And so they changed the character from a white private eye to a black private eye, played by the great Richard Roundtree. He was suave and handsome and cool, and black audiences and white audiences both made that film very, very, very successful. Of course, Isaac Hayes helped with that great soundtrack. Um, Other films that came out around that time that laid the groundwork for black cinema that we're experiencing now with movies like Black Panther, um, 12 Years a Slave, and many, many others that are very relevant and being made not just for black audiences, because that's a losing proposition, but for all audiences. Um, it's universal. Our struggle is universal. Yes, some of us have different struggles because of our skin tone, our sexual identity, our politics. Yes, it's a struggle, but we all have one thing that keeps us tied together, our humanness. And hopefully our the wisdom we get for living in this rough world we're living in. Um, Charles Burnett was another African American director who directed some small films, indie films, you'd call them. The Killer of Sheep, and he went on to do others. Never hit the big time like, say, um, Spike Lee or Gordon Parks, but very respected director who laid the groundwork for other black storytellers. And when they found out that white people were going to these stories, that makes it universal. And we love a universal story that we're all connected. Um, who cares what our appearance is like? And so it was he was an important early pioneer in the independent film scene, along with Spike Lee, who was maybe the most successful indie filmmaker, black filmmaker to come out, or any color skinned filmmaker with his two films in the 80s. She's got to have it. And do the right thing. Um, it was a revolution. He went on. He teaches at Columbia. I don't know if he still does, but he teaches film because he likes to give back. He's gone on to direct many, many successful Nike commercials. That's where he makes his bread and butter, and he directs a movie every couple of years and documentaries. He did Malcolm X. Summer Sam, I think, is his one of his most profound films. Um, he sets his films, a lot of them in Brooklyn, through the black experience, but he has a lot of sense. He has a humor about it and humanness about it that makes it all relatable. And there's not a lot of kowtowing to the white audience. You either get it or you don't. It's up to you. Um, there's not a lot of women out there, folks. One of them earlier black success in filmmaking with Daughters in the Dust was Sarah Dash. Was a groundbreaking film that changed once again the groundswell, the groundwork, the the landscape. I'm using all these land anthologies. She changed everything with that film, Daughters of the Dust. We hadn't seen this before. We hadn't seen this humanistic story about the others, the others that we don't like to see or forget about. But since this is before internet, before social networking, it was a new world to most people, Daughters of the Dust. And it was in itself a revolution. Um, yeah, black filmmaking, it's once again, people were given films. They felt that only a black filmmaker could make films with black actors in it. And so smart people like Denzel Washington, who was a wonderful actor, Academy Award winning actor, has become a director. His movie Fences, I think, was brilliant. um, Brought an audience to it, and once again, it was based on a play. The great playwright August Wilson, who has since passed away, and set in uh, the past. Fences is a profoundly wonderful work of art uh, with performances and the direction by Denzel. Performances that can't be beat, that can't be denied. So once white Hollywood sees that these films make money, they loosen the purse strings and they don't, possibly they learn a lesson. Hollywood's the last place they don't learn lessons well. They didn't give up the reins of indie filmmaking until Harvey Weinstein was charged with multiple rapes. Over the years, Weinstein, who had the early days called Miramax, he was a top figure. He was always a thug, but he got movies made, and he did some as a producer. He produced all of Quentin Tarantino's movies. He Shakespeare in Love. He did um, the world of independent films. He put them on the map as a producer. Him and his brother. They later on sold that to Disney, I believe, and then he started the Weinstein Company with him and he and his brother. His brother did the horror genre, which was very successful. He did the Scream movies, Screams one, one, two, three, and all that, and it was very successful because you horror genre is a very successful money making genre. Um, Somebody like um, Jordan Peele comes in and he subverts it. He changes what that horror looks like, and but he keeps the foundation of horror there, and that's what made that film Get Out so engaging and important. Um, so Harvey Weinstein was um, a power broker. He got a lot of films made, got a lot of Academy Awards coming their way as he was sexually harassing and raping women throughout his 20-year career. Since then, maybe you know about this. They've got a he got guilty of rapes last year. They sentenced him to 25 years in prison, I think. And now he's in LA being tried for more rapes. So his day in court isn't over yet. They just made a new movie called She Said, which is getting good reviews about the uncovering of Harvey Weinstein. It's a universal story of the classic casting couch in Hollywood, which existed, maybe it still does, but maybe not, hopefully not anymore, where women were constantly asked to perform sexually to get a movie part or some kind of career in the movie industry. Um, and this is not just small upcoming actresses, it's major actresses like Gwyneth Paltrow, um, who was propositioned by Harvey, and Brad Pitt, her boyfriend at the time, had to threaten Harvey to beat the shit out of him for making this grotesque pass at his girlfriend. Essentially, if you want to keep your career going, you want an Academy Award, get on your knees. You know what you got to do. Yes, he was that kind of a pig. Um, but he's getting his day in court, and he'll probably go to the prison. He's my age, and so he'll go to prison for the rest of his life. Um, Thank you, Harvey, and adios. He deserves everything he gets, and yet he was at the helm of some very brilliant films. It was anyway. That's that whole scene. I don't know why I got off track on that, but other briefly, I'm going to talk about what is known as queer cinema, which is a term that's was a no-no for many, many years. It was looked down at. It was a derogatory remark about supposedly the gay culture. But now it's kind of the gay culture is kind of not just the gay culture, but the alternative outlier culture of people who are or don't sexually identify as one thing, or they don't want to be identified as one thing or the other. They want to have their own identity, and so they've embraced that term again. And so in the '90s, there were some filmmakers that made some films that with themes of gay themes, but and the directors, the actors were essentially gay. And Greg Araki, I mentioned in another lecture about independent films in the '90s, directed his first film about two gay hustlers who both have AIDS, and they go on a crime spree. And that same year, a movie made for about $20,000 called Go Fish about lesbians, directed by what is her name? Why do I always? Oh, there she is. Rose Trichet. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And it was another groundbreaking film, low budget, that could not have gone anywhere without the Sundance Film Institute and all this. And it became another groundbreaking film and opened the door to and it was now they're called, because there's a couple of films they're calling it queer cinema. Gus Van Sant is another director who started. He directs very legitimate, I should say, kind of straight Hollywood films. He has, but he started off not doing that. He identifies as gay, and his first movie was about gay hustlers. He also did My Old Private Idaho, which is about gay hustlers with Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix before he OD'd and died. And it was controversial at the time because it looked like they were having sex for money. Oh, God forbid. And there were guys having sex with guys. They weren't having sex with wealthy women. Anyway, and so this added more to the term queer cinema. Pedro Almodovar from Spain directed some fantastic films. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, Things My Mother Said, so many others. He directs brilliant films, not all of them with a queer slant. He directs women like no other. Um, and his movies, he's made stars out of Harv- uh, Javier Bardem and forgetting half the people he's worked with, but they work with him in Madrid, and then they come to Hollywood to get more Hollywood style careers. And he's always been proud gay man, but he directs some of the best realistic human stories featuring mostly women. Um, that adds to the queer cinema aspect. Early queer cinema was underground cinema mostly. Somebody like you wouldn't know these. I didn't talk about too much experimental cinema in the '60s. Kenneth Anger and um, his films, definitely underground, definitely not for the mainstream audience. They depicted homosexual activity, bondage, and then Andy Warhol, um, who identified himself as asexual, but he was not. And his experimental films that he did in New York City uh, featured a lot of gay activity without being real graphic or real obvious. It was obvious that he had things going on that the mainstream audience wasn't used to seeing. And so you could actually say he could have been the forefather or godfather of queer cinema. I would definitely give him that, amongst other things. Um, and so it took a foothold. It was a movement. Um, these filmmakers didn't hide from their sexuality, they embraced it. Their audiences embraced it because the audience isn't just any one thing. The audience is just as queer as everybody else. Um, and I say that in the best context. Um, and so these were definite movements in cinema history that you should know about. I'll post some documentaries on it. Hopefully, you watch them. I don't make people watch this stuff. You don't want to watch it. It's up to you. You don't want to learn about it. Up to you. I hope you do. Hope it interests you. Hope you maybe have something to say in the discussions. There is a discussion going on right now about the state of movies. Do you care to go to a movie theater anymore? Do you want to do that? Does it mean anything to you to do it or not to do it? You know, are you satisfied with streaming Star Wars sequel on this thing? Tell me why. Why not? The future is here. The future's now. It's ever changing. Tarantino says they're making lousy movies right now. Um, I kind of agree with that, but there's great opportunity to make great movies. I see hope because you can make a great movie with this if you have it in you. I hope you do. See you next time the story of film continues.